My name is Amy Jacobson, and this is a video for Breakthrough Collaborative. This is a 7th grade science lesson on Bernoulli's principle. Okay, you guys, so we're going to start with reviewing the two definitions we learned yesterday of gravity and air pressure, and we're going to apply those to Bernoulli's principle today through two demonstrations. So first, let's go over those definitions really quickly. The first one is gravity. Divya, could you read this definition for me?
Gravity, the force that makes objects fall to the ground.
Good. And Nani, could you read this second one for me?
Air pressure, the force exerted on you by air molecules.
Awesome. Okay, so those are the two things we learned yesterday, and those are going to be part of these two demonstrations that I'm about to do. So the first one is with a good old paper airplane. So what I'm going to do is first just attempt to throw it across the classroom. So, went pretty far. Okay, so two of the forces that were acting on this airplane, do you guys know what they would be, what we just talked about?
Gravity and air pressure.
Okay, so do any of you know what gravity would be doing to the airplane as it moves?
Pulling it down.
Okay, good. So gravity is going to be pulling it down. What do you guys think the air pressure would be doing to it?
Pushing on it, the airplane from all sides.
Exactly. So we have gravity that's going to be pulling it down, air pressure that's going to be pushing on all sides of it, and there's also a third force that's part of this. And the third force is me actually pushing the paper airplane with my arm. Claire?
So I'm a little confused. Bernoulli's principle, is it the two forces or is it three forces?
It's actually three forces.
Oh.
So we just started with these two that we learned yesterday, the gravity and air pressure, and the third one that combines to kind of balance them out is me actually pushing the paper airplane with my arm.
Oh, okay, I get it now. Because if you weren't pushing it, it wouldn't move in the first
Exactly.
place.
If I didn't push it, it wouldn't go anywhere at all.
Okay.
So that's the first one. That's our first example of Bernoulli's principle. And for the second one, I'm going to have Divya come up and help me.
Yay.
So I'm going to hold this blow dryer, and I'm going to turn it on, obviously. And Divya is going to hold either one or two of these ping pong balls above it when the air is blowing up. So what do you guys think is going to happen to the ping pong balls when I turn it on?
It's going to fly high into the air.
Or,
Okay, so it might
or
fly
it could
straight
fall
up.
down on the ground.
Okay, so it either might go straight to the ceiling or even just fall off. Okay, so let's give it a try. I'm going to try to hold this steady, and Divya, you can put one or two on.
Whoa!
Whoa. Wow.
Cool. So what actually happened to the ping pong balls there? Thanks, Sid.
It just stayed there, hovering.
Yes. So it kind of hovered over the blow dryer, right? It didn't go straight up. It didn't fall over. So that's another example of Bernoulli's principle. So what three forces would you say were acting during this that we just talked about?
Gravity's one of them.
Air
Okay.
pressure and initial force.
Exactly. So the gravity was pulling the ball down so it didn't fly straight up. And air pressure is pushing on all sides of it. And the initial force of the blow dryer is pushing it up so it goes against the gravity.
So the blow dryer is like when you threw the airplane, that initial force?
Exactly. That's the third force that we talked about. So it's always these two and that third initial force. Good job. So with those two demonstrations, I'm just going to explain Bernoulli's principle one more time. I want to make sure you guys have this down in your notes if you don't have it already. So Bernoulli's principle was discovered or explained by Bernoulli. He was a Swiss scientist, and he came up with this to explain why these objects like the airplane or the balls stay in motion in the air. So like we talked about, it's a combination of those three forces. Gravity, which pulls everything down to the ground. That's why we're on the ground and not flying up into space. There's also air pressure that pushes on all sides of us or the objects at the same time. And the third thing is that initial force, either me pushing the airplane like you said or the blow dryer pushing up on the ping pong balls. So Bernoulli's principle is the combination of those three things. So now I'm going to call on one or two of you to check for understanding. So, Nani, what were those three forces that are part of Bernoulli's principle?
Gravity, air pressure, and initial force.
Exactly. And Claire, can you think of an example in everyday life that would kind of show Bernoulli's principle like I did here?
Well, when you did the paper airplane, it kind of reminded me of a trip I took last summer when I had to go on an airplane, because the reason an airplane doesn't come crashing to the ground is air pressure, and then the reason it doesn't skyrocket is
Exactly.
gravity's pulling it down, and then the initial force would be, I think, the engine in the airplane.
You're right. It would be the engine that's starting it to move forward in the first place. So this isn't just an experiment in science class. It actually does apply to everyday life.